Bring Mark forth. I
Mark,
summon Mark.
Come forth, Mark, and speak to us, atheists. What would you like to talk about today, Mark?
I love being with my people.
I'm not convinced we're your people yet.
We'll find out. What's up?
I feel that, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as atheism goes, I'm a 10. And what my point that brings me to you is, and I've brought this up before in other shows, is that I often feel that, like, it's not that I'm an atheist because you haven't shown me any evidence. I believe there's no God. It just simply is a reality for me. And I believe that, many of the people who are on these shows believe the same thing. And yet we tolerate a world where people are, gathering every Sunday or Friday or whenever their holy day is, and they're speaking to no one. And in any other context, this would be considered...
Don't do it.
Having a mental illness.
And you did it.
And you fucking did it. All right. I'm going to start because I'm going to bow out incredibly quickly. First of all, you said literally, we tolerate a world where people are gathering and speaking to no one. Yes, that's called freedom. They're free to do that. They're free to exercise their religious liberties. But then you went the step further. And by the way, the note from the call screener says, quote, time for AXP to call out these stupid callers for suffering from mental illness. And on that note, Shannon?
I really believe that we absolutely, objectively, abjectly, and with like impunity need to call out people who say the types of things that you just said for various reasons. One is that you in this call are assessing yourself, it seems, as superior intellectually, and utilizing that position and saying basically that people who have mental illnesses or are neurodiverse are less intellectually than you or have some sort of problem. You're using it as a pejorative. A, that's not the case. And B, that's reprehensible as far as I'm concerned. It further stigmatizes mental illness, and it does not need to be stigmatized further than it already is. Secondly, you're just objectively incorrect. Like from a clinical perspective, like if you study the field at all, you are objectively incorrect. It is not a mental illness. You could classify it as some sort of crowd conformity. You could classify it as some sort of indoctrination. There's myriad other ways that you could look at the phenomenon of religiosity. None of them fit whatsoever into the paradigm of what anybody who is worth their salt as a clinician would classify as mental illness. It is the most shallow way to look at this, and it is just ridiculous. It borders on repugnant, really, to be honest with you.
Because I think it's crossed that line.
You're saying it's akin to saying I am of superior intellect and quality, and people who do not believe the same types of things that I believe are somehow deficient. And you know who else is deficient? People with mental illnesses. So let's just draw some lines, and we just won't even talk to them. We'll shun those people. That is just, why on earth do you feel as though that's a position that is viable and worth holding?
Number one, you're a brilliant woman, but in no way, shape, or form did I say that I was intellectually superior to anyone. I'm like, I
didn't say you said that. I said that is what you're portraying.
I thought I was smarter than everyone else, and trust me, I'm not smarter than anyone else.
We know that.
What are you saying then? Because that is what you portray when you say these types of things. I'm not saying you explicitly said them, but that is what you portray when you say something like this.
So let me ask you, do you believe there's a God?
No.
No.
Did I? Yes.
No.
Did I suddenly cure myself of a mental illness the moment I realized I was wrong? Also, no.
So let me ask you this real quick, Mark. Mark, shut up and listen to me. if you ran across someone who is mentally ill and delusional, what's your perspective on that person?
Well, it depends on how it manifests itself.
Should they be mocked?
Now, there are a lot of people who like to have,
Should
certain
they
lies
be
about life that don't
mocked
get it
or
together.
belittled for their mental illness?
Well, certainly not. But when we're having a
Good.
discussion,
Then why are you
about
doing that?
people who
Why are you
think
setting
that-
up mental illness as a pejorative and then calling the callers stupid and saying that we need to call them out for mental illness? When, as Shannon pointed out, and as I pointed out countless times,
I did
what they're
not
engaged
call
in
that.
is not in any way mental illness. So you are factually wrong, and yet you are using mental illness as a way to disparage someone, even though you're acknowledging that you shouldn't even be disparaging them if they were mentally ill. So you're like wrong at every possible turn here.
Well, you said that I called Shannon stupid.
No, we didn't say
And I
that.
did-
We said that you were portraying a position of intellectual superiority by referring to the callers as stupid and trying to diminish them as if they're mentally ill. I'm sorry. Shut the fuck up. I'm sorry that you don't understand our words any more than you understand mental illness. But when Shannon called you out for portraying yourself as intellectually superior, that was an honest assessment of both what you told the call screener and what you started with on here.
So you're pretty good with people all over the place that in any other context would be questioned if you spoke to someone.
They
who
wouldn't,
you
though.
knew.
Okay,
Mark?
I'm going to try to calm this down. Can I calm this down for a second?
Yeah, because I'm
No.
going to hang up on him for
No,
refusing to
that's-
acknowledge what we said and instead going on to claiming that we're good with people doing stuff. So I'll shut up.
Okay.
Shannon, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to calm this down for a second. First, I didn't say that you were explicitly stating that. And if I didn't, and if I portrayed it as, or if you received what I said as me saying you explicitly did, you didn't. So I will acknowledge that and apologize in the spirit of fairness. I was attempting to say that that is the type of thing that you portray. Now, whether or not I am okay with people believing, of course, I'm okay with people believing. I am not the arbiter of what people can and can't believe. Would I rather people believe more true things? Yes, absolutely. That's why I'm here today and why I constantly show up and volunteer, because I believe that that being an atheist is the position that holds the truth value. That's why I do this. Now, when you say, are you okay with people? Yes, of course I am. Why would I not be? Why is it? And that does not in any way relate to the context of this call, which is you saying that people calling in with different beliefs than you are the same as people being mentally ill. Why do you draw that line and think it's okay?
Well, I guess it's because in any other context, if you were speaking to someone that you knew wasn't there, it would be viewed in another way. But there's this carve out for religion.
There's a reason there's a carve out for religion. And would you like to hear what the actual reason is?
Why? That I'm smarter than anyone else. I called for a conversation.
I'm attempting to have a conversation with you right now. So this is fair. And I've already addressed that and said that that is what you are portraying when you say these types of things, and that you didn't explicitly say it. That's how I was receiving it. So we've already addressed that. Now, when you're talking about people talking to somebody,
Okay,
when you're talking about people talking to somebody who isn't there, the line that you're drawing, I'm assuming you're drawing, is that you think that they're having some sort of delusion. Now, that's just explicitly not the case. It can be a multitude of other things. One of the things that it could be is conditioning, where people believe that someone's there. They don't believe that they're getting a response, but because they believe in a deity, they think that they're sending a message to someone that is there. That is not a delusion. That is conditioning, possibly indoctrination, and just a byproduct of belief. When people do believe that their own internal monologue could be attributed to God, that is another thing. That's also conditioning. That is not a mental illness, and it is not a delusion. That is just the human condition. The human condition is that we can be compelled to believe in things that aren't true and in fact are incredibly prone to it, and as a result can engage in behaviors that align with that belief system. That is not and never has been and will never be mental illness. So when people call in or go on the internet or go in front of other people and say that it is, they are uninformed clinically and they are using it as a pejorative. Like, how would you treat a delusion versus how you would treat a belief in God? Like, what's the pathology?
Our country is based. These people go out and vote to take away women's rights, to take away, voter.
I agree with that, but that's not because. So you're saying that people who are mentally ill don't vote the way that they should? So that's a byproduct of mental illness, is what you're saying, right? So people who are mentally ill aren't capable of doing that. Like, what line are you drawing here?
Well,
why do you need to classify them as mentally ill? That's different from Christians vote that way because they're indoctrinated and they're conforming to their group. They're tribal, like most of us are. That's another part of human nature. And they believe that they are right. And they are reinforced by the society at large around them and their in-group. So they act accordingly. That is just what you would expect to see psychologically, given the circumstances that they were in. Calling them mentally ill doesn't change anything about that.
I have a question for you, Mark.
Certainly.
Can you prove there is no God?
That's not up to me. Can you prove there is?
No. The question is, can you prove there is no God? Because you are looking at people and saying, I don't believe that what you believe is real. And then concluding that because of that, they're engaged in a delusion and have some mental illness. You can't. I asked you if you can prove that their God is not real. And did you say no? Did you say no?
If I did, then I
can you prove that their God is not real?
I believe that I can.
I don't give a fuck what you believe. I said, can you prove that their God is not real?
Yes.
Okay, do it.
Every definition.
No. Here, we're going. Put a minute on the clock. I got my fucking Jesus hat on. You got a minute on the clock to prove that the Christian God that I believed in is not real. Because my position is that God is not falsifiable, which means you couldn't possibly do this. Go. Prove it.
If you are real God, strike me down now.
You're a fucking idiot. That's not proof.
You're giving me a paradox.
That's not proof.
I can't possibly. I'm just having an exchange with you.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're shitting on the mentally ill, and you're shitting on representations of the mentally ill, and then you are shitting on religious people. And your model only makes sense if, in fact, you are right that their God does not exist. If you can't prove it, shut the fuck up about it, because you're wrong about mental illness. You're wrong about the falsifiability of their God. Why can't you stop being wrong?
Why don't you prove their God to me?
It's not up to me to prove somebody else's God. Any other stupid things you want to say?
Mark, I just want you to stop doing it, please. Like, it's just, I'm trying, like, to Matt's point, like, you can't prove it. People are going to believe in things that we really ardently believe are incorrect, right? That's why we do what we do. Maybe this is what we do is probably a little bit more productive than what you're doing right now, which is saying that dialogue should stop because you believe these people to be mentally ill. I get fired up about stuff like this because I think that being a mental health advocate is significantly more needed. So perhaps my tone could be a little bit better, but I would really ardently like you to reevaluate your position on this and stop doing it. It's not correct. It's not good. It's not beneficial. And I don't even believe that it's a step towards what your stated goals were, which is stopping people from voting against things like women's rights. because just calling people mentally ill and then disengaging is not going to change anybody's minds.
I don't think that I was belligerent, but I think I was met with belligerence.
Cry me a fucking river. You shit on mental health issues, you shit on mental illness, you shit on religious people and accuse them of something that is not true and that you can't prove. I'm sorry that you were met with belligerence. Some of us were religious. We didn't recover from a mental illness. Some of us have friends and family who are religious. They're not suffering from mental illness. Shannon tried desperately and thoroughly to explain to you how you are just factually wrong about mental illness, but you won't hear it. And I asked you if you could disprove their God, which is a requirement for you to conclude that they are in fact delusional, and you couldn't do that either. So I'm sorry that you feel that you were met with belligerence. Maybe if you hadn't started with an attack on the mentally ill, you might not have been.
Well, I wanted to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, good job getting that ball rolling. Now, go put it on a gag so that you stop talking.
Mark, can you just agree to that it's not a good idea to do it? Like, can I get that from you? That you should stop equating belief in a deity of any form with mental illness?
That is it. I was mistreated. And I just, you could have told me I was wrong in much different ways. But
go fuck yourself.
So you're focusing on the tone in which you received the message. And I hear that. I absolutely hear that. I understand. I understand you're focusing on the tone in which you heard the message, but the reason that there was tone when you heard that message is because that message that you were attempting to send is intensely impactful to people in real life if we continue to propagate stigmas, and that's important to quash whenever we hear it. And that's what you were attempting to deliver to us. So we wanted to stop it in its tracks. So that's the reason that you were met with that type of tone. Okay?
Well, in the name of rhetoric, I think there's a better way to, disagree with the person.
Did I ask you for your thoughts on better ways of disagreeing with people? Did either of us? Because if the rest of this call is just going to be you lecturing us on how much you didn't like how you were responded to, there are other calls waiting. Either answer Shannon's question or we're just going to move on.
Good day, sir. And I wish you every success in life.
Okay.
I hope you have a good rest of your day and enjoy the rest of Sunday, Mark. And my dog behind me also wishes you a good day.
And in keeping with the past, I don't, but I hope it gets better tomorrow.
Fair enough.